Here we go. New Perek Samach Dalet Amud Aleph 64a. Here we go. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Rabbi Eliezer says, "Potchim la'adam bichvod aviv ve'imo." So this is talking about a petach. The person made a neder, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta regret the neder. I can't do this neder." And we could, says Rabbi Eliezer, we could open the neder for this person if it's because of the honor of his parents. Meaning, like, this person made some sort of neder that it's going to disgrace his parents, and just for the fact that if you'd have known it's going to disgrace your parents, then that would open the neder. So not even like nothing to do with the actual neder itself, but for the honor of the parents. Chachamim osrim. Chachamim say no, that's asur. It doesn't. That doesn't qualify. Let's look at the Ran. Left side. Rabbi Eliezer Omer potchim lo le'adam b'chvod aviv ve'imo. At the top. Sheomrim lo. We tell him, Ilu ayita yodea shemevazim avicha ve'imecha al she'ata kalba nedarim. Not even about the neder, that the fact that you're light with nedarim. If we tell him, if you would have known that this is an embarrassment for your parents, that you are light with nedarim, it's so easy for you to make nedarim, would you have done such a thing? He said, no, I wouldn't have. So then that is considered, then we open for him. Kudamrinan dekaru l'rishia bar tzadika, rishia bar rishia. Meaning, we would call, like there's a Gemara said in Sanhedrin that people that are light in the Nedarim, they might even call them Rishaim, like you're using your language, and we're going to see another explanation. And they might even call you a Rasha ben Rasha, so it's even like insulting your parents. Would you have made such a neder? Would you have been light in the Nedarim? Lashon acher. So the guy says, no, I wouldn't have done it. Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, that's good enough. Chachamim says it's not good enough. It needs to come. It has to be connected to the actual neder. Continuing the run, lashon acher sheyomru she'ata lamadta mehem she'afhem mezalzim nedarim. Another explanation is people are going to say you learned from your parents. Where do you get these acts from that you're light nedarim? You learned that from your parents. So it's an embarrassment for your parents. So the guy would say, I would have never done that if people were talking like that. So Rabbi Eliezer said that's good enough. Chachamim say it's not good enough. Okay, back to the Mishnah. Amar Rabbi Tzadok. Says Rabbi Tzadok, Ad shepotchim lo bichvod avi ve'imo, yiftachu lo bichvod hamakom. Says Rabbi Tzadok, he takes Rabbi Eliezer's explanation and he goes further with it. You Chachamim say it's asur, but now says Rabbi Tzadok even more than Rabbi Eliezer. Ad shepotchim lo bichvod avi ve'imo. Now that we open a neder. Now that according to Rabbi Eliezer we open a neder for your mother and father's honor, we're going to also, you could open a neder for the honor of Hashem. Like, we would tell the guy, if you know that what you did is not honorable for Hashem, would you have done that? He said, no way, I wouldn't have done this. And then that you could open a neder with. But then, says the Gemara, there's a little amrulo over here on the side, they tell Rabbi Tzadok, Imken and Nedarim. If so, there's no Nedarim. It can't be that you could open up a neder based on the honor of Hashem, because then, if so, there's no Nedarim. Then every neder can be opened. So then this doesn't work. Because every neder you tell the guy, well, you have done this. If Hashem was upset, oh no, we've never done this. So there's no Nedarim. Let's see the Ran, how he explains it. He adds another explanation to this. Amar Rabbi, so let's continue the Ran. The Gemara is going to explain the reason of the Chachamim, why it's Asur. Amar Rabbi Tzadok, Ad shepotchim bichvod avi ve'imo, potchim lo bichvod hamakom. Now that we open for your parents, we can open for the honor of Hashem. Klomar, you have to say, Rabbi Eliezer, ki yechi deshavri liftoch bichvod avi ve'imo, according to Rabbi Eliezer, that opens a neder for the honor of your parents, Shari Nami liftoch bechvod hamakom. It's also allowed to open the neder with the honor of Hashem. Sheomrim lo, we tell him, Ilu ayita yodea, if you would have known, kshenadarta, shayita mekel bechvod hamakom, that you are lenient in the honor of Hashem. Dehamrina b'sifri, because we say in the Sifri, shehu kenoder b'melech atzmo. It's as if you're making an oath like on the king himself, like you said, like I swear on the king's life, type of thing. Like when you make a neder, it's so severe. So now you're coming to open up the neder. So that means you didn't you're light in Nedarim. If you're coming to open up the Neder, that means you're light in Nedarim, and this is not something for you. So if you would have known that you're making light in Hashem, would you have done this? Klum ha'ita noder. Would you have made a Neder? So what they told Rabbi Tzadok was if you'd say that, we go with that opinion, then you can't. Then all Nedarim are open. And Amru Lo, continuing the Ran, Im ken en Nedarim. If so, there's no Nedarim. Klomar, afilu Rabbi Eliezer modeh leRabbanan, di b'chivod hamakom en potchim. They said to Rabbi Tzadok, as if it's saying, even Rabbi Eliezer would agree. You're going too far over here, Rabbi Tzadok. Even Rabbi Eliezer would agree to Rabbanan that for kavod hamakom we don't open. If so, the potchim and nedarim. If we're going to say open for that, for the kavod of Hashem, then there's no such thing as nedarim. Then every neder is going to open up.
I think there has to be a relation, right?
To the
parents or to Hashem.
Yeah. So we're going to see. Yeah, we're going to see that. The Gemara explains, "My davar shebeno leben avi ve'imo." That's the next thing. The Gemara is going to explain that the neder has to be between your parents. And we're going to see that right now in the Mishnah. I mean, it has to do with your parents, then you could open up with your parents. For instance, you made them asur on your hana. You said, my dear parents, you're asur to come in my house, right? So that, then we could say back, you embarrass your parents. So that's directly to do with the neder, then we could open up. Umiu, nevertheless, nehidim askinan, hacha, de'en potchim yichvod hamakom, that we come out over here that you cannot open up a neder based on the honor of Hashem. Davka b'chavod hamakom hu de'en potchim mishum de'im ita de'pochim en nedarim nitarim yafeh. Nedarim don't open up properly. Kedit b'gemara, like the Gemara is going to explain, she'en shum adam she'ya'iz panav lomar, because nobody would have such azut panim, brazenness, to say she'afilu haya yodea she'u mekel b'chavod hamakom haya noder. So what the Ran is saying is that this. Let's say someone goes to why is it? What does it mean? That's in Nedarim. The Gemara is going to explain this, but the Ran already gives us a heads up over here. So we said the general explanation is there's no Nedarim because then you could open up every Neder, but it's more than that. If you're telling a guy, hey, your Neder is going to really, it's going to go. It's not honorable for Hashem. You see that you're light in Nedarim, right? So no one's going to be brazen to say, I don't care. I made a neder and I didn't care about the honor of Hashem. No one's going to say that. So there's no one's going to say that. Even if in his heart he really feels that, no one's going to actually say that. So that means there's no counter to that petach. Meaning, if a guy makes a neder and you say, if you would have known this, would you have made the neder? I still would have made the neder. I still would have made the neder even if I would have known that. Yeah, I had that in mind. It is. Then you got to find something that I didn't have that in mind, or whatever. But if something that's always like a card that's going to win, and it's going to be if you would have known you're going to make Hashem's honor is going down, you're embarrassing Hashem's honor. So the guy, even if in his heart he would have said, I don't care, right? He would never say such a thing. He would never say. He would never admit to such a thing. Even if he would have known that he's lenient in Hashem's honor, even if he would have not held himself back at the beginning, I don't care for Hashem's honor. I would have stayed with this. He shaker the market. He would lie to say that. He would not say it brazenly. The Ran continues, for the honor of one mitzvah, we do open up. We're going to see this later on. Mina katuv b'Torah, ilo hayita yodea she'ata over al lo tisna et achicha b'levavecha, klum hayita noder. Meaning, let's say, for example, the mitzvah, you're not allowed to hate your fellow in his heart, in your heart. Meaning, on the outside, it could be all nice, whatever, but in my heart, I hate him. It's asur from the Torah. You're not allowed to hate a fellow Jew. You don't have to be everyone's best friend. You don't have to, you have to love everyone. It's a hard balance. Some people that really wrong do this. You don't have to be there, but you can't hate. You can't hate any Jew. So, if we tell a person, if you would have done this neder or whatever, you're violating hating a Jew. So even if a person says, yeah, I don't care about that mitzvah, lo aleinu, a person says that, so on one mitzvah, a person would have the guts to say, I don't care about that mitzvah, even though it's still very wrong, but because he would have the guts to say that, then if he admits that, I wouldn't have wanted to do that, so because people would be brazen enough to go against even one mitzvah and say that publicly, then it is a good petach. You could open up a neder based on that. So when he does admit, I wouldn't have made a neder based on that, then we say, okay, fine, we open the neder. Because we know people are brazen enough to say that they would do it even so. That's how the opening has to work. You have to have some times on the petach that people would say, oh no, I would still make the neder, or I wouldn't have made the neder. But something that's no pun intended, but a trump card that's like that this wins all the time. Where you say, oh, the honor of Hashem. No one's gonna, even if a guy in his heart feels that, I don't care. I would, if the honor of Hashem, I still would have made the neder. No one would say it, and therefore that would always win, and therefore that can't be as a petach because that's always going to win. People, it's not strict in people's eyes so much. One mitzvah. He's not going to lie to say he won't lie to say, he would say I would have still made the neder even if it's violating one mitzvah. We're going to see later on that with regards to one mitzvah, even that mitzvah Shabbat, we would open up. We're going to see that later. Yerushalmi, an interesting Yerushalmi. Don't worry, it doesn't apply to me. It's fine. Hakol modim b'chvod rabo she'eno ma'amid etetanin mumer rabcha k'mor hashamayim yilkach en potchim bo. They say the Yerushalmi says that the kavod of your rabbi is like the kavod of Hashem. So therefore, he said, if it's gonna disrespect your rabbi, would you have done it? I said, no, I would have never have done it. It's like the kavod makom, and it doesn't work as a neder. I think people would lie and say, I don't care what rabbis are. Right? Okay, see, people that different. There's different rabbis then and different fear back then. But that's interesting that it puts it together. Okay, let's go back to the Mishnah. Started with the word ve'od. About halfway down. Ve'od amar Rabbi Eliezer. Potchim. No, I'm sorry. Modim, whereas we're up to with a little aleph is in brackets. Modim chachamim le Rabbi Eliezer. Chachamim agreed to Rabbi Eliezer. Bedavar shebeno leben aviv ve'imo. Something that the neder is in between you and your parents. Shepotchim lo bichvod aviv ve'imo. That we open for the honor of your parents, and that's what the Ran said, that if the neder has to do with, like you said, I don't want my parents to benefit from me anymore. It's between you and your parents that we could use the honor card for of your parents, and that could open up because the neder itself has to do with it. Ve'odam Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer continues to say, Potchin ben nolad. Chachamim osrim. Potchin ben nolad. Nolad means something that's born. But here in the laws of Nedarim, we probably spoke this out at some point. It means something that's born later on. If I would have known this would have happened, even later on, see, that's the Chachamim say it's asur. Chachamim doesn't use this. A guy makes a neder in the year 2000 about something. So later on, when he wants to open the neder in the year 2010, we have to go back to when you made the neder. Was this, if you would have known, not if I would have known that something would have happened later, if I would have known at that time that this thing it had to be around then, and then you could open the neder. But Rabbi Eliezer says a chidush that is very lenient, that says even it's something that happened later. We're in 2010 now. This thing was not even on the radar in the year 2000. It only happened now. Like, oh my gosh, I would have made this. If I would have known this, I was going to give some examples. I would have not made the neder. So that Chachamim say still no, that doesn't work. Not nolad. It needs to be a petach connected to the neder from the time of the neder. Rabbi Eliezer is lenient even if nolad. Says the Gemara Ketzad. What's a case? How does it work? Amar kunam. Says she'ani, the boss says she'eni ne'ene leish ploni. I'm making a kunam. I don't want to benefit from this guy. This guy Reuven, I don't want to benefit from him. V'naseh sofer. He becomes a sofer. He becomes a tamil chacham. Now he's this guy. That's the guy in town that writes mezuzot. So now you need the guy to write your mezuzah. Or shaya mesiyat beno. Or this guy was marrying off his child. ואמר, אילו הייתי יודע שהוא נעשה סופר, או שהיה משיא את בנו בקרוב, לא הייתי נודר. This guy's marrying off his child, and he said, or the case the guy's marrying off his child. What does it mean the guy's marrying off his child? And he wants to benefit from the party. He says, I guess let's say the whole city was invited to the party, and he would have been invited, but he was the one that made the neder. I don't want to benefit from this guy, and that means that this guy's party also. Oh, if I would have known he's marrying his son, I would have made the neder. So the question is also, it's a normal thing. Maybe to say that a regular guy turns into a sofer, it's not so regular. It's out of your radar. So that's something that's nolad later. Is it something that's really nolad, that's born later, but that gets married? Like that's part of life. So the Rosh says a good point. I'll read out the Rosh here. You made a neder for a certain amount of time. You said, I'm making a neder. I don't want to benefit from this guy for the next 6 months or 3 months, let's say. He never would have thought he's going to marry off his son in that short time. The guy's 15 years old. I never had a thought the guy's going to marry off his son. Or like whatever, the time is too such short of a time. Even, right? Then I would have never thought the guy was going to make a wedding. I never heard the guy wasn't dating anyone. All of a sudden he's getting married. I would have never made the neder then. It was something that was off the radar. That's the case over here. And the Gemara says, back to the Mishnah, Ve'amar ilo ayuti yodea. If I would have known, shehu na'asa sofer, that he became a sofer, o shaya mesid beno bekarov, lo ayuti noder. If that he's marrying his son off quickly, soon, I would have never made a neder. So that is something that's an example of nolad, where Rabbi Eliezer says that works, and the Chachamim say that does not work. Let's read the rest of the Mishnah, and then there's a few runs, and the runs actually are on the next page. But let's read the rest of the Mishnah. Here's another example of a neder, of a nolad neder. Konam lebayit zeh shani nichnas. I'm making a neder. I'm not going into this house. V'nasa bet hakneset. It turns into Magen David. It turns into a house, turns into a synagogue or whatever. I guess I don't know if this is originally a house. Was this originally a house, or maybe you say that the house next door now it's part of the synagogue because it's the kids program, whatever, right? So anyway, the guy says, "I'm not going to this house," and it becomes a synagogue. Well, I want to go to the synagogue. Amar, if I would have known it's going to be a bet knesset, that's something that's nolad. I would have not made a neder. Rabbi Eliezer matir. Rabbi says you're allowed to get out of that neder that way. Chachamim osrei. Chachamim say no, that's a nolad. The neder that's born later, and that you cannot get out of. Okay, let's look at the run. The next page. The runs on our Mishnah are there. If you go to the next page and you look on the widest lines towards the bottom of the page, where it says matnitin, that is on our Mishnah. Let's do quickly the first one. So the first one, the run says an interesting point. Ve'od amar Rabbi Eliezer potchim benolad. We re-quote Rabbi Eliezer. We start with Rabbi Eliezer. In our Mishnah, the sequence is Rabbi Eliezer, Chachamim. Rabbi Tzadok says something. Chachamim agree to Rabbi Eliezer, and then Ve'od amar Rabbi Eliezer. And then Rabbi Eliezer again says something. So the Ran points out an interesting point here. Afagav afsekua Rabbanan lemilted Rabbi Eliezer. Even though the words of the Rabbanan afsekua was a hefsek, it broke up the words of Rabbi Eliezer. And now we reintroduce another statement of Rabbi Eliezer. Lekana medak mai ve'od. Don't be medayek, and don't press and really stress on the word ve'od, because ve'od generally is, and also Rabbi Eliezer says that means including the statement prior. But hold on, the statement prior was Chachamim. Chachamim interrupted Rabbi Eliezer's statement, but obviously it means going back to the first statement. It's the same Rabbi Eliezer ve'od. Even though the Gemara in Masechet Eruvin is medayek like that, the ve'od, why is a ve'od in a place where it shouldn't be? Because generally, when someone interrupts, it should just start again. Amar Rabbi Eliezer. It should not say ve'od. The Shani Hacha here is different. The Avi lehetera. Here, Rabbi Eliezer is giving a leniency, hetera, which is even a nolad works. The kocha de hetera alim tuva, and the strength of being lenient is strong. We'll explain that in a minute. Even though the Rabbanan interrupted, it says ve'od. So here it's saying that the koach hetera adif, the koach of being lenient is stronger. So this means in general, it's very easy to say no. When a person asks a rabbi a question, asks anyone a question, and you say no, it doesn't show a strength of chokhmah, because everything could be. You could just say asur to everything. When a person says yes, or it's allowed, then that means that the guy could violate if the guy's eating this thing. You say it's allowed. He could violate because you just allowed it. If you said no, it doesn't show that you're a chacham. It shows you just everything's no. It doesn't show that you acknowledge. If you say yes, hold on, that means I understand the situation. I learned it and this and that, and now I'm saying yes, it's okay. So it doesn't mean that everything's a yes, but if you want to get the biggest leniencies, you go to the biggest Talmid Chacham. They'll know exactly what's allowed, what's not allowed. Okay, unfortunately, if you go to people that are very lenient and they don't know much, but they want to be accepted more, they'll just say yes to everything. But the highest level of a yes actually is you go to the highest. So Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, he was looked at as a mekil. He was very lenient in a lot of things. But it's because, imagine like you're looking at a forest from a bird's eye view. You see everything's all green. It looks like this is just like a one piece of green. When you get down to the bottom, I'm standing on the floor, you can see, this tree is so far away from this tree. This tree is so far away from this tree. So imagine like Rabbi Ovadia Yosef in a certain way, he's on the floor, he's in the trenches, and he knows, no, this is asur. This is not asur. Your case here is this case. That's not this case. He'll know exactly. When you're a little bit further out, you can't differentiate exactly that much. So you're a little bit less lenient or whatever. And that's why Hillel and Shammai. Hillel was the more lenient one. Rabbi Yosef was very into. So that's why koach de'etera alim, being lenient, obviously from the level of chachamim, wisdom is stronger because it shows the koach of Talmid Chacham, etc. That's why we say ve'od. It's connecting, and that's what he's saying over here. Why the ve'od is not in a usual place. Chachamim osrim. Let's continue the runs. Third line down. Chachamim osrim. Chachamim say it's asur with a nolad case. Shum de petach de shchiachu de mashvi le neder taut ava nolad lo. It's a common thing. The petach de shchiachu de mashvi le neder taut ava nolad lo. It's a common thing to let's say a person makes a neder b'taut, an accidental. I didn't know that that's where the Chachamim say that you get out of. Accident, I didn't realize that. But nolad, no. Nolad is something that's born later, meaning I knew all the options. At the time that I made a neder, all the options I knew, that's why I made the neder, and I'm covering all my bases. I don't care about this, I don't care about this, I don't care about this, I'm still making a neder. But since it's born later, that the Chachamim say no. V'nasa sofer, v'tzarich lo tamid. He becomes a sofer. A sofer, I think, also is a Talmid Chacham, not necessarily actual sofer. But tzarich lo tamid, he needs him all the time. Okay? O shayam mesiyat beno, or he was marrying off his child. And it's common that people ate at the weddings. So he wanted to eat at the wedding. So he didn't like the guy so much, but he liked the food. So he said, I'll make the neder later if I would have known, right? Okay. Eliezer matir v'chachamim osrim. Mishum denakat bebeit tuva hadar v'tanad v'kulur Eliezer matir v'chachamim osrim. Because, so he's saying that because the Mishnah says, meaning, why do you have to repeat again? Eliezer allows Chachamim osrim. We said that before in the Mishnah with regard to nolad. So the Ran explains because it gave a few cases of nolad, it just summarized and now said in all these cases Eliezer says it's allowed. Chachamim say it's not allowed. Okay, that's that for today. We will continue tomorrow night. B'ezrat Hashem. We'll take a poll for who's coming tomorrow night, and we'll let you know if it's going to be at 8 o'clock or 8:30. And that's that. Laila Tov. Hazak Baruch everyone. Not Laila Tov. See, Boker Tov. I said Laila Tov. You see that?